Well, hello there, yoga family and Facebook friends. This is Dawn. I wanted to just go through a few things. I was getting some messages from some of the other flows that I did on certain physical issues and how to make some modifications. So I'm going to divulge a little bit about myself, and then I'm going to explain how I use different tools and instruments to make yoga practices easier for me. So I've had rheumatoid arthritis since I was about 12 years old. I was finally diagnosed when I was 19. So I don't have, although I have a very good range of motion, there are a lot of things I cannot physically do anymore. And I've always been very athletic and bendy. You know, I was a gymnast when I was younger. I did dance and tap and track and the high jump. And so I was athletic in my own way. And the thing about having an autoimmune disorder is that some days you're doing amazing and you can do all the bendy things. You can do the splits. You can get your arms all the way above your shoulders. And then there are days when you're having a flare and it doesn't work. So I've had to learn how to go with the flow of my body and make adjustments accordingly. So some days I can have a really amazing yoga flow and I'm doing great and I'm hitting all the poses well. And then there are days when I just can't do it. I have such a struggle with my balance, or I just can't get my body to manipulate into that pose, or I can't get my joints to articulate the way they need to. So there's different things that you can do. Now, unfortunately, in 2021, I was diagnosed with cancer. And so they don't tell you how long that goes on for. And it was I had colorectal cancer. And that comes with its own unique issues. And my body reacted very poorly. So I have spent the last 8 months just trying to get to a point where I can do a down dog without being afraid. So I understand the different things that your body can and cannot do at different points. That's why there are just a number of tools that we can use. So you've heard of yoga blocks, I'm sure, bolsters, bands. Those are usually the top 3 things that people use. Well, you don't have to run right out and buy a bunch of equipment if you don't have it. This is a pillow that I got from a hospice nurse a while ago. And this pillow works great for if I'm in a particular position and say I'm doing like a runner's lunge. So I'll show you on this side. So I'm doing a runner's lunge or I'm doing a low lunge and I have one knee down. Well, the knee's okay, but my ankle's not having it. Well, then you can take this little pillow or folded up towel and you just tuck it right there underneath your ankle. And it takes that pressure off your bones. You can do the same thing with a folded up towel and you can just place it underneath your knee. And that'll take that pressure off that kneecap. Okay? You have to do what works for your body. Like every yoga instructor says, listen to your body first and her instruction or his instruction second. So these little pillows come in really handy. The other thing that you can use is a folded up towel. I cannot stress this enough. It's amazing. All you need is that quick 2 inches. So say you're in a seated position. I can't cross my legs the same anymore. I can't do Indian style because it puts a certain kind of pressure in my knee joints and it causes me a lot of pain. So you add either your pillow or the folded up towel and you make adjustments. So I can put my knees like this, but I can't sit in a regular Indian style because it just causes pressure on my ankle joints and it causes the bursa in my hips as well as my knees to become very sore. So I've learned to modify for my body and you need to do the same as well. The other good thing about a folded up towel is that you can place it under certain parts of your shoulder. If you're like me and you're a little on the skinny side, well, certain poses can cause pressure on those bones. So you just fold up your towel in however thickness that you need, and you can use that to pad where you're going to lie. So you can take that compression off those certain spots. The other thing you can use in place of the yoga bands is they have these at the dollar store. They have them occasionally at like Grocery Outlet. They have them at Walmart, Target. These are exercise bands or rehabilitation bands. So say you're doing a bind and you're like me, you're not back to where you need to be, or you've had certain procedures done on your shoulders and you can't reach anymore. You take your bands, you flick it around so you can grab hold of it, and this is how you can get into your binds and hold those binds without compromising that particular joint that's sore. So there's just so many things that we can do to help ourselves out. And I'm just going to run through a couple of quick little poses to show you what we can do to take the pressure off your body, so you can do those poses, so you can start training your body and building up that strength. And hopefully maybe someday you won't need those blocks or those pillows. You'll be able to just do it. But if you can't, then you know what? These tools are here to help you. So I heartily suggest that take all the help that you can get. You know, if you're going to start running a marathon, you don't do 10 miles the first day when you decide out of the blue, when you're not a runner, to do a marathon. You gradually work your way back into it. And you do the same thing with yoga. And as with all the yoga poses, I do a lot of yin, because it's one of the things that I like to teach, because it gets into the deep tissues of your muscles, and it gets into that fascia. And that fascia is that membranous webbing that connects all your muscles, the different types of muscles. It connects them all together. It surrounds all your organs. But it also works as a communication pathway in your body. So you want to take good care of your body so your whole body can communicate. And when you stretch and open up those muscles, and you allow that tissue to expand, and you allow that fascia to stretch, you can get better signals in through your body and better signals in through your muscles. So that's one of the reasons why I'm going to be doing just a ton of yoga, or yin yoga, for a bit. But I'm also going to mix it up here shortly, probably next week, and start some yin yang flows. So one of the other things that you can use is, if you don't have a bolster, get a thick pillow. That's all I use. I love this pillow. I don't even remember where I got it, but it's a great pillow and it works for me. So one of the things that I like to do, if I'm going to do a particular seated position where I really do need to have more of my back straight and my shoulders down and out, and be able to open up those hip flexors better, then I'll use a thicker pillow, or I'll even sit on a bolster, and I'll show you that here shortly. And the good thing about that is that it can actually open things up, so you can sit down. It raises you up just enough that it doesn't cause that pressure on your sacral spine, your tailbone, also known as your coccyx. It gives you enough lift so it's not pulling so much pressure downward on your hip joints and your hip flexor muscles in here. That elevation can make it so I can get into more of a cross-legged position without straining my knees or my ankles. And if I'm having a particularly bad day, but I need to, I really feel the need to be in this position, then I'll take my towel and I'll just put it under my ankles, and I'll take more pressure off of that. Give myself a little more elevation in the back, flatten this out just a little bit more, and just give myself some cushion under the bony parts of my body. So those are just a couple of different things you can do to get into your yoga flow, so that way you can have a really good flow without worrying about, am I going to be able to hold this pose for very long? Speaking of poses, some of the poses that I do, I hold for 5 minutes, because certain large muscles need way more of a stretch. And I love hip openers. I'm terrible with shoulder work. It's one of the banes of my existence. We all have our strengths, and then we all have things that we're not as great at, that we're still striving and working on. But again, I have specific limitations, as so do a lot of people, and each body is individual. You absolutely have to work with your body. The worst thing you will ever do in your yoga practice is compare your flow to somebody else's. Their body type is completely different than yours. They're in a different place in their mindset and in their physicality than you are. They have different desires than you are and where they want to be in their practice. So the worst thing you can do, don't compare yourself. You're going to just set yourself up for failure. Know that you are doing great. And even though there's that saying that, yeah, you're enough, yes, you are, but you should always strive to improve yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You are enough. but that doesn't mean we don't have room for improvement. I will always continue to work on myself. I will always continue to work on my mind and my spirit and my health and my attitude because some days I can just be a little sourpuss, and I'm working on that because I am human. But as humans, we should always strive to be better. So moving on. The other good thing about a pillow as a bolster is that you know how your pillow will contour to you. So say I am doing a melting heart position. And that's the one where you're doing that deep, deep back bend in your lumbar spine and you're melting your chest toward the floor. But you don't like that pinching sensation that can come in your shoulders or your neck. And you do need to be very mindful and cautious of that. Well, then you take your bolster, you take your pillow, you take whatever works for you or your blocks. You can use a block as well. And you can put yourself in that pose however you need to and look forward without overly straining your shoulders or your thoracic and cervical spine. And you just work on that slowly. And as you get better and you feel like you can dip down a little bit more, well, then you change your block out. And you can go down further and further. Okay? If that's a little too much, then change the side of your block. And that'll bring it down just a little bit more. So you have these different ways of using your block. You can use it straight upright, on its lengthwise, or flat all the way. Okay? That is a beautiful thing. One of the other tools that I use is my body pillow. I love this thing. I don't care what anybody says. It's amazing. So body pillows are great. Like if you're going to do your half frog where you have one leg extended all the way behind you and your other leg all the way up as far as you can make it. You can take your little pillow and put that underneath your ankle that is extended so you don't cause compression on that ankle bone. And then when you're doing your deep twists, it can raise you up just enough so that you can get your body in that position and you can hold that position way longer than you would normally be able to. And if you're going to do a deeper stretch, well then that gives you just enough lift that you can do that deeper stretch because it's holding you up enough. Okay? The same thing if you're going to do a pigeon pose. Pigeon pose is great with your block or, even a bolster. I like pigeon pose with the bolster when I just don't have it in me to stretch that far. So when you come up from, say, your down dog into your pigeon, and you're not going to be able to bring it all the way down because your IT bands are just way too tight, you take your block and you tuck it just under. And you get it into a comfortable position, either lengthways or I like it this way better. So it elevates you up just enough. And if you want to go into you can do your back bend. Now, if you want to go into your sleeping pigeon, and this is way too much to go down because again, it's pulling on your IT band or your hamstrings, then you can bring your other block over. Then you can do your sleeping pigeon with your chin resting on your block. Okay, so there's just different kinds of modifications that you can do to make life so much easier for you. All right, so those are some of the modifications with your blocks and your bolsters and your pillows and your towels and your bands. So I think I've gone through the primary ones that we usually use. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to write them in the comments. Ask me about this, that, or the other. And if I don't know something, I will tell you I don't know, but I will do some research and I will get back to you on it. If you have a question about a specific pose, please let me know. And in the future, there's going to be a lot more different variations in yoga, but right now I'm really getting into the yin, so that's what I'm just going to focus on for the next couple of weeks. It's just doing yin flows every single night and then working my way into yin yang. Because as I said, I'm still recovering from all the things that I went through in my cancer therapy. So I have to rebuild my body and I have to do it from scratch. And you know what? I'm really proud of this journey that I've gone through and that I am still on. And so if there's anything that I can do to help you on your journey or show you a way to modify, shoot me a question And if it's something a little more complex that I can't explain just in a text, I'll shoot a quick video and I'll send it to you in your messenger. So I hope that was helpful. Stay tuned. I got to charge up my phone here, and then I will start doing, I'm probably going to try to do 2 or 3 Yin Yoga Flows tonight in the field. It is a beautiful sunny day. It's slightly hazy because we've got some wildfires going, so I'm praying that those get put out here quickly. But again, it's a beautiful, stunning view in the field with the mountain, and what better way to stretch your body out and calm that mind. So thank you so much for joining me for this little explanation, and I will see you shortly. Thanks. Bye-bye.